If you've ever wondered what it would look like if a stealth bomber had a child with an RGB gaming keyboard, and that child grew up spoiled, insecure, and desperate for attention, congratulations. You're looking at the BMW XM, the most expensive, heaviest, and most visually aggressive identity crisis BMW has ever bolted together and called a performance SUV. This is the first standalone M car since the legendary M1. After decades of motorsport heritage, lightweight engineering, and driver-focused machines, BMW followed up one of the most important cars in its history with a $160,000, $6,000 pound plug-in hybrid luxury brick that looks like it was designed during a hostile takeover by a nightclub lighting company. BMW didn't just break the mold with the XM, they publicly executed it. For decades, the M badge meant restraint, balance, and mechanical honesty. The XM replaces all of that with bulk, gimmicks, and a design language that screams, "I don't care how it drives, I care how threatened strangers feel when I pull up." The internet didn't merely roast this car, it tried to stage an intervention. Scroll through Bimmer Post, Reddit, or literally any enthusiast space, and the consensus is brutal and unanimous. The XM feels like the final boss of BMW's descent into parody. A car so out of touch, it makes the G80 grille look like a warm-up exercise. One reviewer said it looks like it was sketched by a cartoon villain who hates beauty. Others crowned it the Pontiac Aztek, Haute Couture edition. And those illuminated kidney grills, sorry, pig snouts, are so oversized and self-aware they look like they're trying to inhale pedestrians just to power the owner's ego. This isn't presence. This is visual shouting. And then there's the punchline, the performance. BMW wants $159,000 to get you in the door, nearly $190,000 for the label red. And for that money, you get a car that weighs more than some pickup trucks and is objectively less engaging, and in many cases slower than the X5M, which costs tens of thousands less. The XM isn't faster, sharper, or more thrilling. It's just louder, heavier, and dressed like it's trying to be noticed from space. You're not paying for performance. You're paying a look-at-me tax, a luxury surcharge for maximum visual aggression with minimum driver connection. It's an M car in name only, engineered for people who think Nürburgring lap times are a Spotify playlist. BMW's PR department calls the XM expressive and extravagant. Translation: we ran out of ideas and doubled the size. The XM is what happens when brand managers replace engineers and decide that louder equals better. It's not a performance vehicle, it's a status symbol for people who found the Lamborghini Urus too subtle. The BMW XM isn't misunderstood. It's accurately judged. It's not a bold new direction, it's a warning sign. A rolling, illuminated, gold-trimmed reminder that somewhere along the way, BMW forgot that excess is not the same thing as excellence. It's not a car, it's a cry for help on 23-inch wheels. Standing in front of it feels less like meeting a performance SUV and more like being confronted by a genetically modified deep-sea creature that just swallowed a neon sign and learned about crypto. This is the first standalone M car since the sacred M1, and BMW chose to honor that legacy by giving it a face that looks like it was designed by an AI trained exclusively on angry kitchen appliances, armored beetles, and feral hogs. History weeps. The kidney grills, if we're still allowed to call them that, have mutated into unregulated atmospheric intakes. They're so massive and octagonal that they've effectively consumed whatever personality the rest of the car was hoping to have. BMW calls the gold-tinted illuminated outline iconic glow. Enthusiasts call it what it is, a nightlight for narcissists. This isn't branding. It's an illuminated overbite, glowing proudly to inform everyone ahead of you that subtlety died somewhere around the third design meeting. One Autopsy writer nailed it perfectly, saying it looks like a beaver that just found a bag of neon highlighters. That's not exaggeration, it's forensic description. This is brute force design, meant to bully attention out of you because it knows damn well it can't earn admiration. Then we arrive at the split headlight disaster, BMW's favorite crime against visual coherence. Tiny, squinty DRLs sit awkwardly on top, giving the XM the permanent expression of a luxury SUV judging your financial decisions, while the actual headlights are buried in the bumper like a shameful family secret. It's the same setup roasted endlessly on the X7, and somehow BMW thought, yes, let's do that again, but angrier. Across Bimmer Post and Reddit, people have pointed out the uncomfortable truth. This $160,000 flagship has the same facial hierarchy as a 2021 Nissan Rogue or Hyundai Kona. Imagine dropping six figures just to share the same eyeline as a budget rental car with cloth seats and regret baked in. The entire fascia is a cemetery of clashing angles and aggressive triangles, like a low-poly NPC vehicle from a mobile game that hasn't finished rendering yet. And then, because restraint is illegal at BMW now, we get the XM label red. This is where the design officially jumps the shark. BMW looked at a universally criticized front end and decided the solution was to outline the problem in bright red. The result? A grille that looks like a red-lipped batfish or a capybara that lost a fistfight with a MAC Cosmetics counter. One Reddit user summed it up perfectly. Why are they highlighting the problem in red? It's like a YouTube thumbnail drawing a box around the disaster. Exactly. It doesn't look more aggressive. It looks more desperate. Like the car itself is screaming, "Please notice me, I cost $190,000. This isn't high-performance design. It's lipstick on a pig with underglow. The XM label red doesn't look like a flagship M car. It looks like the final boss of a dystopian cyberpunk game that confuses excess with menace and edge with taste. You're not buying confidence. You're buying a $190,000 confession that you think visual shouting is a personality. If the front end was BMW's villain monologue, the side profile is where the XM completely loses the plot. This is a 3-ton brutalist sculpture that looks like it was designed by 4 separate committees, each working in a different building, all legally prohibited from speaking to one another. Even Frank Stephenson, the man who designed the original BMW X5, couldn't stay polite. He called the XM the most ridiculous side view I've ever seen on a vehicle in 100 years of automotive design. That's not a hot take. That's a professional obituary. And he's right. This thing has all the visual grace of a dumpster fire reflected through a funhouse mirror. The single worst offender is that massive gold or gloss black accent band wrapping around the side windows. BMW insists it's a historical reference to the M1's black strip. In reality, on a 6,000-pound luxury SUV, it looks like the car is wearing a permanent pair of oversized, bargain bin 1980s sunglasses. Instead of adding elegance, it slices the body in half and makes the XM look comically bottom-heavy, like it skipped leg day but doubled down on ego. Bimmer Post users didn't mince words, calling it lipstick on a pig, while Reddit went even further, pointing out that the XM's silhouette resembles a bloated hatchback that's been lifting weights but completely forgot about cardio. Wide, tall, thick, and somehow still awkward. It's bulk without balance, muscle without proportion. Then we get to the wheels. BMW proudly offers 23-inch M light alloy wheels, which sounds impressive right up until you actually see them. They look like something ripped straight off a Roman chariot or a mid-2000s lowrider music video. Mostly flat, overly busy, and designed purely to distract you from the fact that this so-called performance flagship rides like a concrete mixer on rubber bands. And here's the unforgivable part: no air suspension on a $160,000 luxury SUV. Instead, you get steel springs, massive wheels, and a ride quality multiple reviewers have described as tooth-rattling. Every crack in the road is transmitted directly into your spine as a reminder that BMW prioritized Instagram presence over actual comfort. You wanted luxury. You got buyer's remorse with 23-inch rims. The bodywork itself is a graveyard of unresolved lines and confused geometry. The wheel arches aren't even round. They're these squared-off hexagonal shapes that somehow make the gigantic wheels look too small. The proportions feel stretched and awkward, like a 2012 BMW X1 put through a growth hormone experiment that went horribly wrong. It's long, tall, and wide in all the wrong ways, turning parking garages into psychological endurance tests. As one critic put it perfectly, the XM doesn't have presence, it has interference. Gold trim clashes with slab sides. Angles fight each other for dominance. Nothing resolves. Nothing flows. The entire side profile feels less like a premium German performance SUV and more like a moving nightclub built entirely out of unresolved design arguments. This isn't bold, it's confused. And at $160,000, confusion is inexcusable. If the front of the XM is a scream for attention, the rear is a full-blown identity collapse. This is where BMW's designers appear to have abandoned aesthetics entirely and instead committed to building a $160,000 brutalist monument to insecurity. It's heavy, clumsy, and has the visual elegance of a luxury dumpster dropped from a considerable height. This isn't confidence. This is panic rendered in plastic. The first thing you notice is what's missing: the BMW roundel. For the first time ever, a flagship BMW seems so embarrassed by its own design that it refuses to wear its badge on the tailgate. Instead, BMW has banished the logos to two tiny, laser-etched circles tucked awkwardly into the upper corners of the rear glass. BMW calls this a homage to the legendary M1, but let's be honest, on the M1, it was a subtle, purposeful detail on a true supercar. On the XM, it looks like two afterthought stickers you'd find on a clearance bin Funko Pop box. As one Reddit user perfectly summarized it, it's not an M1 tribute, it's a confession that they didn't want the logo anywhere near that tailgate. And you can't really blame them. Then there's the exhaust setup, BMW's latest crime against common sense. Gone are the classic quad pipes. In their place, vertically stacked, hexagonal exhaust tips that look like organ pipes designed by someone who hates symmetry. The internet wasted no time. Bimmer Post users dubbed them the stacked organ pipes of doom, while one commenter noted that the entire rear bumper looks like it's actively holding in a massive fart. Others went even further, comparing the pinched vertical layout to a prolapsed mechanical nightmare. This does not read as high-performance engineering. It looks like cheap aftermarket audio equipment bolted onto a teenager's first hatchback, only scaled up and priced like a mortgage. The taillights are thin, spindly LED noodles, awkwardly wrapping around the corners as if they're desperately trying to restrain the XM's sheer mass. They frame a rear fascia that's basically a monolithic wall of sheet metal and gloss black plastic, broken up only by design desperation. Below that sits the diffuser, if we can even call it that. It's oversized, aggressively sculpted, and looks like it was lifted straight off a sci-fi spaceship. The problem? It's attached to a vehicle weighing well over 3 tons, a car that will likely never experience anything more demanding than a Starbucks drive-thru or a valet ramp. This isn't performance theater, it's cosplay. The entire rear end looks like it was designed by a Saturday morning cartoon villain instructed to make a car look menacing, but accidentally created something closer to a low-poly rendering glitch from a broken video game. You're promised a Halo car. Instead, you drive away with a distorted reflection of BMW's worst impulses. This isn't design evolution, it's design dysmorphia. A rolling mass of LEDs, fake aggression, and overstyled plastic that finally buries whatever was left of the M legacy under 6,000 pounds of insecurity. So what does nearly $200,000 actually buy you? It buys you a 6,000-pound brick that is objectively worse than the car parked right next to it in the same showroom. For significantly less money, the BMW X5M is quicker, sharper, more engaging, and doesn't look like it was designed by a committee actively trying to sabotage each other. Buying an XM is a public admission that being seen matters more than driving well. And that's the entire point. The XM is slower to 60 than the X5M, it's heavier, and it's less rewarding. Yet BMW charges roughly $40,000 more for it. That price gap isn't engineering, it's status tax. You're not paying for performance, heritage, or innovation. You're paying for permission to feel important in traffic. Look at the professional reviews, and you'll see the automotive press performing Olympic-level mental gymnastics to justify its existence. Words like expressive, extravagant, and boldly unapologetic get thrown around as if volume equals value. They'll praise the Hans Zimmer, composed iconic sounds, pretending that synthesized spaceship noises somehow compensate for the fact that you're piloting a 3-ton tank with the ride quality of a misaligned shopping cart. This isn't honest criticism, it's brand-safe spin. You're being gaslit into believing the XM is a masterpiece of modern design and innovation, when in reality it's a monument to corporate narcissism. A car designed less by engineers and more by marketing decks, focus groups, and PowerPoint slides titled, "How do we monetize clout?" The truth is simple. The BMW XM is not a performance car. It's a $160,000 illuminated accessory. It exists for the era of social media dominance, where the goal isn't balance or feedback, but being the loudest, largest, most visually aggressive object in the frame. BMW didn't build this for enthusiasts. They built it for people who think the Lamborghini Urus is a bit too tasteful. This isn't sheer driving pleasure. It's sheer visual displeasure. And while BMW's M once stood for motorsport, with the XM, it officially stands for marketing.